Welcome to the deep dive. Our goal here is pretty simple.
Yeah.
We want to give you the essential knowledge and maybe some surprising insights buried within complex topics. Today, we're plunging into this world of intentional softness. It's a digital phenomenon. We're talking billions of views, tens of millions of videos, and just a whole lot of whispering. I'm talking about the world of delicate tapping. Yeah. Slow hand movements, quiet lip smacking even. All this content designed entirely to trigger what users will affectionately call brain tingles. We are doing a deep dive into autonomous sensory meridian response, or ASMR.
And that's exactly right. Our mission today is really to unpack the science and, I guess, the cultural significance of ASMR. We should probably start by clarifying it's a non-clinical term. It was actually coined back in 2010, specifically kind of to sound more official, lend a bit of legitimacy to this really unique sensory experience.
So what is the experience then like biologically? Because people aren't just watching these videos passively, they're reporting a very specific physical reaction.
They absolutely are. ASMR basically describes a sensory response. It gets triggered by specific sounds or visual things, and it results in this pleasant, involuntary, it's like a staticky tingling sensation.
Right.
Usually starts in the scalp, then kind of runs down the neck and the spine.
I think the most fascinating part, for me anyway, from what people report, is its paradoxical nature. You hear it called a brain massage, which sounds nice, but then they say it makes them feel both deeply relaxed and kind of excited simultaneously.
Yeah.
That sounds, well, contradictory.
It really does sound like the ultimate duality, doesn't it? But
Indeed.
it's actually supported by some of the early research. A 2018 study, for instance, found that ASMR content did activate brain regions linked both to reward and to emotional arousal.
Ah.
So you get that soothing sense of calm, definitely. But at the same time, your brain is lighting up with engagement. It's like a rush of calm.
A rush of calm. I like that.
Yeah.
Okay, let's unpack the community that's formed around this feeling then. Because the cultural landscape of ASMR is, well, it's huge and deeply specific. What stands out about the triggers?
Well, the key thing is that individual preferences really drive everything. But survey data consistently shows some common categories. On the audio side, the triggers are usually low volume.
Right, quiet stuff.
Exactly. Whispering, soft speaking, tapping on hard surfaces, scratching sounds. Other crisp sounds, too, like crinkling plastic or maybe a pencil scratching on paper. Very specific.
And then there are the visual triggers and maybe tactile ones.
Mm-hmm.
They seem to be all about attention.
Precisely. You see things like slow, really deliberate hand movements or repetitive focused tasks like watching someone fold laundry perfectly maybe, or mixing paints really slowly. And the role-play niche is massive. It simulates that feeling of close personal attention.
Ah.
Whether it's a pretend haircut or a gentle medical exam simulation or even just someone acting like a friend talking to you quietly one-on-one.
When you look at the social side of this whole thing, you realize how fundamentally different it is from, well, from a lot of the rest of the internet.
Mm-hmm.
The community around these ASM artists, people like Gentle Whispering Maria or Whispers Red, it's often described as a genuine haven.
Yeah, and what's fascinating there is the comment sections. They're consistently described as a safe and pleasant place. Someone even called it a sort of pure stream of all that is tender, which is amazing for the internet.
That's quite a description.
It is. Users seem to feel comfortable sharing really personal anxieties or even past traumas, and the response you see is overwhelmingly supportive. It really functions as a form of digital comfort. It relies on this sort of synthetic experience to provide visceral calming, an escape maybe from a world that many feel is just too much.
And that aesthetic, the softness and the quiet intimacy, it's definitely seeped into the mainstream culture. We see it in major music artists, like Billie Eilish is often mentioned.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Her whole production style, hushed vocals, low volume, whispery delivery, it really resonates strongly with that ASMR soundscape, people say. Even listening to her music doesn't give you the literal tingles. It captures that feeling of closeness, that focused auditory texture.
It's a really potent sensory input, but that power, it cuts both ways. While loads of people find pleasure in these sounds, others have the complete opposite reaction, a really negative one.
Right, not everyone loves whispering.
Exactly. This is where misophonia comes in. It literally means hatred of sound. For someone with misophonia, those exact same triggers, the whispering, the mouth sounds, the tapping, they don't bring calm at all. They provoke irritation, distress, sometimes even a fight or flight response.
Wow. It's so interesting that the same input can land at completely opposite ends of the emotional spectrum. That suggests ASMR isn't just about passively watching or listening. It must be rooted in some fundamental differences in how our brains are processing this stuff. Which brings us nicely to the science, I think. It seems like it's moving ASMR from this sort of fringe internet thing to potentially a verifiable physiological event.
Yeah, the scientific goal was exactly that. Find objective evidence, something beyond just people saying, I feel tingles. And they did find reliable physiological changes in people who experience ASMR. That was the real aha moment.
Okay, so what was the key finding? What actually changes in the body in these controlled lab studies?
Well, the change in heart rate is pretty striking. ASMR participants showed a significantly greater reduction in their heart rate compared to non-experiencers. One study saw an average drop of about 3.41 beats per minute. That's a measurable physiological calming effect, confirming the relaxation people report.
Okay, so you get calmer, heart rate drops. But didn't the earlier research you mentioned suggest simultaneous arousal? How does the body show both relaxation and, like, sensory activation at the same time?
Ah, good question. That's where we look at the skin. While the heart rate goes down, ASMR participants also showed an increase in their skin conductance level, or SCL.
Skin conductance, like
Ex-
sweat.
Essentially, yeah, it's a tiny measurable electrical shift on the skin caused by very slight sweat gland activity, and that indicates a state of heightened sensory arousal, paying close attention. So you are relaxed, your heart rate is lower, but you're not tuned out. You're actually intensely focused on the stimulus.
Hmm. So this dual profile,
Yeah.
that must be what separates ASMR from other pleasurable physical reactions people have. Like, for example, if I get those powerful chills listening to music goosebumps,
Hmm.
is that the same thing happening physiologically?
That's an excellent comparison because both are pleasurable tactile sensations, but they are physiologically distinct. That feeling you get from really moving music, it's often called frisson or aesthetic chills. And research consistently links frisson with an increase in heart rate. It's exciting.
Ah, right.
ASMR, conversely, as we just said, is associated with a reduced heart rate. So this means ASMR seems genuinely unique. It's a relaxing feeling that involves sensory alertness rather than a feeling of like thrilling arousal.
In that uniqueness, it sounds like it might be rooted deeper, like in how the brain is actually structured or wired for some people.
It seems that way. Neuroimaging research using fMRI suggests there might be trait-level differences in people who experience ASMR, specifically in the brain's default mode network, the DMN.
Okay, the DMN, that's the network that's active when our minds are wandering, right? Thinking internally, daydreaming, recalling memories, that sort of thing. So what did the scans show in ASMR-capable brains?
Well, compared to control subjects, they showed less functional connectivity within the DMN during rest. Researchers have interpreted this as a potential blending of networks.
Blending of networks.
Yeah, maybe a heightened connection between different regions, like the frontal areas involved in attention, sensory processing areas, and emotional or reward centers. It's complex, but basically, their brains might be wired in a way that more easily connects certain sensory inputs directly with feelings of calm and pleasure.
Okay, that makes sense. And given that physiological basis, it's really no wonder that people are flocking to these videos for practical benefits. What are the main reasons people say they watch this stuff? What are the reported uses driving its popularity?
Oh, the reported therapeutic uses are definitely the main engine here. The survey data is incredibly clear on this. For instance, 98% of users report engaging with ASMR content simply for relaxation.
98%. That's almost universal among users. That's compelling.
It really is. And beyond just general relaxation, 82% use it specifically to help them sleep or to relieve insomnia. A big majority, maybe 70–80%, also use it to deal with chronic stress. And interestingly, some studies showed participants reported temporary improvement in symptoms of chronic pain and also headache relief, both during the session and for a few hours afterwards.
Wow. Pain relief, too.
Temporary, yeah.
Wow.
And it's also often cited as providing a temporary mood boost, specifically helping to decrease feelings of depression for a short time.
No, we definitely need to add the critical context here.
Yeah.
ASMR research is still pretty new, right? It's only been studied rigorously for a few years.
Precisely. That's the crucial caveat. While the reported benefits sound profound and the physiological data is intriguing, we have to stress that ASMR is not yet an approved clinical treatment. Not for any physical or mental health disorder. Researchers still need more funding, more large-scale studies, more validation to potentially establish it as a credible, complementary therapeutic approach. Maybe something like music therapy or dance therapy. It's not there yet.
The silver lining, though, seems to be that most psychologists suggest exploring different triggers is generally harmless. If you're curious, trying it out seems safe.
That seems to be the consensus, yeah. There are no reported negative side effects for most people, which makes it a very accessible form of self-care you can experiment with. Although we should probably note it's viewed very differently everywhere. In a small number of countries, like China, for example, ASMR videos have actually been banned. Regulators there classified them as vulgar content. So a really sharp contrast in how this digital comfort is perceived globally.
Hmm, that's a really interesting political dimension.
It is. And ultimately, I think the question we have to ask is about the deeper cultural meaning of this mass reliance on, well, synthetic calm. We've established ASMR seems to be a real thing physiologically. It's calming yet activating. But its increasing use, especially by younger adults, for this easily accessed visceral calming, it leads us to a pretty crucial modern critique.
Right, and here's where it gets really interesting, I think. The core comfort of ASMR often mimics personal attention,
Hmm.
intimacy, but it's delivered reliably, safely, through a screen. You control it completely. You can turn it on, turn it off.
Exactly. And that is the root of this lingering question about resilience. If ASMR is serving as a kind of digital soma, this highly accessible, personalized relief that neatly avoids the messy unpredictability of real human interaction, what's the potential long-term cost? Because real-world connection, it requires managing nonverbal cues, it involves emotional growth and navigating potential conflict. It's complicated.
So the provocative thought is, if we are substituting or maybe overly relying on this easily accessed digital intimacy instead of doing the harder work of building genuine, messy, real-world coping skills and resilience, are we potentially avoiding the crucial development needed to handle complexity when the screen is finally turned off? Is the relief it provides maybe coming at the expense of building that tougher real-world resilience? That's really the final thought we want to leave you with today.
Yeah, we encourage you, our listener, to maybe reflect on your own sensory responses to the world around you, whether that quiet whisper provides you instant relief, or maybe if you find your calm somewhere else entirely.
Thank you for joining us for this deep dive into the science, the culture, and maybe the questions surrounding the brain tingle.